Hello again, and thank you very much for attending this second part of the detailed instructions and information about the ePub 3 fixed layout format. Okay, so I want to talk to you first of all about some of the tools that I'm using to edit this ePub and how I can check that it's perfectly sound in every way. So I'm going to just go onto my Finder. Now here's my folder where I've got all my work going on. This is the folder that actually consists of all of the work in the ebook. We've looked at that in Atom previously. This is the ebook that's been created. So this is actually there for the ePub itself. Now if I double click on this on my Mac, then this is going to straight away open the Life of Shakespeare in Apple Books as we had before. Okay, let me just delete that from my Apple Books. But what I'm now going to do is to show you how we can make the use of a feature in Apple Books, which you'll find here under Advanced, Add ePub to Library as Proof. Now you're only going to see that if you use the preferences to turn that on. Here we see it in here. Okay, so turn that on and then you'll see that particular feature. There's some other things that that also does, which I'll come on to in a moment. But now in order to make the book a proof in Apple Books, we have to actually turn this into a folder, which brings me to the first tool that we need to use. Now I've explained before that this file that we're looking at here, this file here called the Life of Shakespeare.epub is in fact a package of things, which it's effectively a zip file, but you can rename it to a zip and unpack it. But conveniently for us, somebody has made a marvelous tool, and you're seeing a copy of it up here. I've also got it available to me on my dock. And this tool is actually called eCan Crusher, and you can look that up and you'll see actually there is a place that you can download it. I've actually made it conveniently available to you guys that you can download it from my site, but that actually is a very useful tool for the Mac, because it's really a script that will actually unpack this and turn it into a folder. Now I've got it actually on my dock. You can put it on your dock, or you can just simply drag that to the icon that you've got on your dock down at the bottom of the screen. But I'm just going to drag it onto here, and you'll see that it will say, do you want to overwrite one that I've already done? So I'm going to do that. So now we've got a folder. This folder, as you can see, consists, as before, of all the various components that we need in our ebook. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to put the .epub on the end of this file. Now in order to do that, we have to be careful because we've already got one. This file name here, just going to zoom in on this actually to make it a bit clearer. This file here, the Life of Shakespeare book .epub, that already has that name, so you can't give this that same name. So what I'm going to do is to rename this by removing book. And then here I'm going to simply add .epub. And then it's going to ask me, do I really want to add that? Yes, I do. Now that looks, to all intents and purposes, like it's actually an ebook, but it's not. It's actually a folder. Okay, so now once we've done that, once we've turned that into a folder, if we now go back to Apple Books and simply go up here to add ePub to library as proof, you can pick that out. You can see it actually, it is a folder because it's got a little triangle next to it. Add that in, and we should now see that here. I mean, all my books. Now you can see the difference. It's actually labeled proof like this. Now, why would we do this? Why do we want to do this? What's the advantage of doing this? Well, I'll tell you what the advantage is. If we now edit anything in this ePub here, So for example, if we now drag that onto Atom, so this is my project, and if I start to make changes to the CSS or add images, which is what I'm going to do, what will actually happen is this will automatically, instantly in fact, change something here. So this proof will change automatically. So in other words, I don't have to keep refreshing it or downloading it, or or deleting this one and adding a new one into here. Let's put that into there, makes it a lot better. Okay, so that's the point of this, is that I can now make changes to my ebook. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually try to add an image into this second page. So if we go to this page here, we need an image. So the first thing we're going to have to do is to get the image that we want. Now I've got various images here, so I'm going to get an image of Shakespeare, which is this one here, and I'm just going to make a copy of that, and I'm going to put that into my folder. Okay, so I now have that image in there. There it is. I'm going to copy that image, or copy the path to that image, I should say, by right-clicking in Atom, copy the project path to that, go into my page 1, which is my page in, and I'm going to add this in at the top here. I'm pasting that in, so that's the path to it, and all I actually need is this part here. So what I'm going to do is to add my image tag. Image source equals, and that's the source there. And I need the alt tag. Okay, I think that's got it, and we need to close that image tag like that. Okay, so I'm going to save that now, and we go back to Apple Books. Okay, so as you can see, it's just put that huge image in there. You can go back to the first page. We see this on the second page, we've just got that absolutely huge image there. So we need to do certain things about that image. Now what I'm going to do is to give that a class name, although I don't really need to, because I'm just going to have one image in here, but I'm going to say portraits, for example. Okay, then what we need to do is something in our CSS. So for the CSS, we need to add something for that particular image. So that image, which is I've got a class name of portrait. What I want to do is to actually have a width of 40%. I'm just guessing with some numbers here, because obviously I can change this later. And I want this to float to the right. Let's see what that does. There we are, it's done that instantly. Not that I particularly am happy with that, but we've at least got something happening here. Actually sits. So we've got it inside the body text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try take that out of there and put that outside but inside the wrapper. Outside of the body text, because the body text of course is set up with columns. So I'm going to change that to be outside. Okay, that's a little bit better. So we're getting somewhere now. But I should just explain that I've actually got this at the moment set to be columns. So again, you know, I'm not going to obviously solve this now during this sitting, but I'm basically just going to show you a little bit about what, you know, what the kind of thing that we might want to do. So if we want this image to be sitting over on the right hand side with the text on the left, then it may be a better idea to turn the columns off. Now you'll see that in the style sheet I've actually got the body text to be set to columns. So I'm going to actually change that now and just remove that temporarily, and just to comment it out because I might want to get back to that. And then I'm going to save that and we'll see what that achieves. Okay, so you can see that now the text is simply floating like this, but I want that text to now have some margin. I want that margin to be on the top. I want that margin to be, say, 12 pixels and 20 pixels left and right. I also want this image that's floating to the right to also have a margin on the right of 20 pixels. And I also want to position this, but I'll come back to that in a moment. Let's just actually have a look. So you'll see it's really like building a website, because what it means is that we can actually, something didn't save there. Let's just do that again. Ah, that's why, because I made a spelling mistake there. Right, okay, so we've got something a little bit better there. That's not really quite what I had in mind, or even trying. To see what happens if we position this fixed. And right 20 pixels. Okay, so as you can see, this image now, the text is now going underneath the image. So what we need to do now is, when we look at the position of this, position is at the top, and we have something on the right and the width of 30%. So what we actually need to do now is to go to our body text and put a margin on the right. I'm just going to type this in. A margin on the right of 35%. Okay, so now you can see that we've got the image and the text working a little bit better together. So maybe we could increase the size of that so that this text moves down. We need to basically just arrange the elements using position so that they will always stay in the right place. Well, I hope you're keeping up with me so far. We haven't got long to go now. I'm just going to try to explain to you what we might do for this, in this case, to add another page to our ebook. And then I also want to show you another tool, which is to check the validity of the ePub file. So let's get down to it now, and we'll look at how we would add another page. Well, okay, so let's go back into Atom. And all I want to do really is just to duplicate this page. That's the easiest solution. So I'm duplicating that, and I'm going to call it, guess what, page 2. Okay, now obviously the text needs to be changed. So I'm going to go, I've got my text handy around here somewhere. Let's have a look. So this is an outline of his life. This is in an HTML format. So I'm just going to pull this out of here. So we're going on to the next part of this, which is Stratford, I believe. Yes, so there it is. So I'm just going to copy that out of there, and then we're going to go to page 2, and we'll just simply add that in there instead of that. Okay, then obviously we will be adding a picture into that. I'm going to take that particular picture out first of all, so we don't need that. We'll just leave it without a picture for the moment. Now, a number of things that we need to do. One of the things that we failed to do in the last presentation as well, but the important thing is that when you're building an ebook like this, you're actually adding content. You must make sure that you make some edits to the package document, which in this case is called content.opf, because we actually need to add these elements into the manifest. So the first thing that we should be doing really is I'm going to just duplicate this line here, and I'm going to give the ID of this new image that we've added. I'm just going to call it Cobb Portrait. As you can see, it has to be one name, no spaces in the name. And then the image itself, as you can see, is this one over here. So I'm going to copy that copy that project path, and put that into here. It will need a little bit of editing because we don't need the OEBPS actually, because we're pointing to it from where we are right now. Okay, so that's added that asset into the manifest. The other thing that we need to do is to make a copy of this file. This is the page 1, and I'm simply going to duplicate that, call it page 2, and the actual reference to it is page 2. Okay, we're not done yet. We're just going to save that, however. But I'm just going to go back down into here because we also need to add that into the spine, so that when we actually read the book, we go straight away from page 1 to page 2. And I'm going to take out linear equals no, because we actually do need to be able to navigate straight to that from page 1. Okay, not done yet. So the next thing to do is we need to go to our table of contents, and we now need to add that in there. So first of all, in the page list, we'll just duplicate that line, and once again just change that to page 2. We also need to put it into our drop down table of contents. In this case we need to put the actual name of the section. So this is page 2, but the title is Stratford. I think that's done enough for the table of contents, and we can now have a look at our book in books. Right, so it looks as if yeah, so we do have to reload the book when we add pages, but you can see that we've now got a third page, obviously that needs some styling, but we've got the third page. We can go back to the home page, and we can go straight onto that page. To the table of contents. And there it is, so new styling. Now I just finally want to show you one tool that we can make use of, that we should make use of, and that's this little application here called the ePub checker. Now we really sometimes need to make sure, that this is a valid file. Okay, so back again, we're going to now check the validity of this ePub that we've created, and for that we use a very useful tool which I'm going to give you the links to so you can download it for yourself. It's completely free from an organisation called Pagina, and right, so here it is. This is the application, And all we need to do is to choose the EPUB file to validate. We've actually got that over here in our Finder window, so I'm simply going to drag this into here, and hopefully after a few moments we're going to get the file. Yeah, everything is valid. So as you can see, no errors or warnings detected. This EPUB is valid. Now that really puts us to the end of this part of the demonstration about ePub 3 fixed layout format. You can see that it is possible to hand create a fixed layout ePub, so you can actually edit each single page as a separate HTML document. And what I'm going to do is to give you the template, if you like, the sort of empty template, so you can simply take each of these pages and make your own HTML, make your own CSS. As long as you follow the rules that I've set out for you here, you should be able to create a fixed layout EPUB without using any fancy expensive tools. However, in the next episode of this production set of screencasts, I'm actually going to talk to you about using InDesign. Okay, see you in the next episode.